back, friends. In the previous video, we have discussed about monolithic system. So in this video, we are going to discuss about the next architecture, that is called microservices. So in the monolithic system, we have seen that everything is placed in one system, in one machine. Okay, but in microservices, what we are going to do is that we are going to divide the big application into multiple smaller applications. What does it mean? So let us understand it. We have a big application. We are going to divide this application into multiple smaller applications, and these applications are basically into two categories. First category is service requester. Second category is service provider. Okay, and these applications, multiple smaller applications, have single responsibility, work independent, and they are loosely coupled. What all these mean? We are going with an example in just a few minutes. And remember one thing: if a big application is divided into multiple smaller applications like S1, S2, S3, all these applications have their own database. And if one application want to communicate with any other application, then they can only do with the help of API. Not it is not possible that S1 can directly contact with S2 database. This is not possible. They can only communicate with the help of API. So let us understand this topic with the help of one example. So we all have uses like cab services. So for example, we all have uses the services like Uber. So Uber had to do lot of things in his application, like having the user profile, having the okay, driver profile, okay, payment services, booking services, okay, tracking services. So in monolithic, all these services are present in a one place. Okay, in monolithic, all these services are present in one place. Okay, but in microservices, user profile has one smaller application, driver profile has one smaller application, payment has one smaller application, booking has one smaller application, and tracking has one smaller application. So how does it work? Let's say a user wanted to book a cab. So with the help of user profile, the application gets his location, and with the help of a database of driver location is get. Okay, so they are communicated with the APIs to know the location of each other, and driver if any available driver is present, no user make the payment request, payment authentication, payment, how the payment happen, all these things is present in the payment services, and all this communication happen through API. If the payment is successful, then the booking happen. If the booking gets successful, then there is a communication of tracking data of a user is provided to driver. Tracking data of a driver is provided to the user. These are big application is divided into smaller services. Each one has their own database and talking to each other with the help of APIs. So if anyone asks you what is microservices and how it is different from monolithic, then you can say that in monolithic a big application will do all this work, but in microservices it is divided into multiple smaller pieces, multiple smaller applications. Each one has its own database. They work independently and communicate with the help of APIs. So you think that this is best or better than monolithic? Every architecture has its own advantages and disadvantages. So let us discuss about these things. First, discuss about the advantages. Okay. So first advantage is that if you want to do selecting scaling, what does it mean? Selective scaling means selective scaling. What does it mean? If you have a lot of user data, but your driver data is very less, so you can make the user database very big, but have a driver database of smaller size. So if you want to scale only one component of the whole application, only one smaller application of the whole application, then you can easily do it, because in microservices each one is work independently to each other. Second one is, if you wanted to make one application in other language and other one is other language, like you wanted to make the user application in Java but driver application in Python, you can easily do it because everyone work in independent manner to each other. Other advantage is that fault isolation. What does it mean? Fault isolation mean if there is any error come in user database or user application, then this application definitely get crashed or does not work. But it does not affect the driver application or payment method application, because everyone is working independently. The problem in one application does not affect the whole system. Other one is that it is loosely coupling. Loosely coupling. What does it mean? Loosely coupling give you the advantage that if you wanted to make a UI or anything change of a user, or you wanted to any changes in user application, so you can easily do it without affecting the driver or payment application. So if you wanted to make any modification or doing any changes in one application, it does not affect the other. So making modification and changing one application is very easy. And other one is low deployment time. Low deployment time. As you know that in monolithic you have to deploy the whole system at the same time. But here you can deploy the user and check that is the user system work properly. Then you can deploy the driver. You can deploy each one independently in the low time. You do not require to deploy every system at one go. And if any architecture has benefits, so it also have some disadvantages. So let us discuss about the disadvantages of microservices. Microservices. So first disadvantage is cost. So just imagine that your big application is divided into different parts. Each one has its own database, each one has its own infrastructure. So there are a lot of infrastructure. So definitely get increases. Cost definitely get increases. Second one is security problem. What is security problem? What does it mean? There are different parts, so you have to secure each one and you have to manage each one. The security and management become difficult because here the management and security you have to done for all the parts, not for only one part, which is very easy in the monolithic application because you have to secure only one thing. But here you have to secure each and every part. So providing security is very difficult. Third one is integration testing is difficult. Integration testing means you want to test how if anything is requested from user, how the payment get work, how the driver give you the response. If you, so making these type of testing where you have to integrate one system to other, making API call to each other, you have there are lots of permutation and combination here. So checking each and every permutation and combination is very difficult here. So integration testing is very difficult here. Next one is a high high latency problem. What does it mean? So if user want to get the data of payment or anything of get the tracking 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 response, so there is only happen with the communication through API, and it is slower than monolithic system. So if you want any system which is latency sensitive, so it is very difficult to make it with the microservices because here the latency is high. So it has some disadvantages like cost, security, integration testing, high latency. And let us revise one another time. Microservices is service where a big service is divided into big application is divided into multiple smaller application. It has two different categories. First one is service requester, second one is service provider. They are have a single responsibility, work independently and loosely coupled, and each one has their own database and they talk to each other with the help of APIs. APIs. I have given you the example of Uber, how these services work with each other. Now I have discussed about the advantages of these services, that it has a loosely coupled system, it has a fault isolation system, low deployment time. These are the some advantages of this system. But advantages come with along with the disadvantages like the cost, security, infrastructure, latency. So I have discussed about each and everything about microservices. In the next video, I will going to compare microservices with monolithic services. So stay tuned with my YouTube channel, and if you like the video, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.